lawmakers have always gone to extraordinary lengths to keep their secret coded messages secret. In 1587, a future Queen of England loses her head thinking this code unbreakable. The key players in this Elizabethan tragedy are Mary, Queen of Scots, her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I of England, Catholic English nobleman Anthony Babington, spymaster Sir Francis Walsingham, and a mysterious genius called Thomas Phelps.
Mary, Queen of Scots, had been Queen of Scotland, but had had to flee the country and come to England, where she was theoretically a guest of Queen Elizabeth I of England. But the English government had real problems with this, because England was a Protestant nation, and the Queen was Protestant, and Mary, Queen of Scots, was a Catholic, and she was next in line to the throne if Elizabeth didn't have any children. So she was naturally the centre of any conspiracy to get rid of Elizabeth and replace the Protestant Queen with a new Catholic Queen.
Under lock and key, with her every move carefully watched, Mary must think of even more secret and devious ways of communicating with her Catholic allies in London, France, and Spain.
She decides to use a series of ciphers to communicate secretly with people, which even if they are intercepted, then she assumes nobody will be able to read them because they're all in code.
In June 1586, Mary begins corresponding with Catholic conspirator Anthony Babington.
The method that Babington and Mary, Queen of Scots, decide upon to get the letters between each other is to use the services of the brewer who delivers beer to Mary's household once a week. So she would write a letter, which her secretaries would then encode, and once that she had the coded letter, it was rolled up very small. And then what they'd done is hollow out the bung inside the beer barrels, so the letter could be placed inside the bung put back in the barrel, and then the brewer would drive out with the barrels, take the letter out and have it delivered to Babington in London.
Mary writes her secret letters using what's known as a nomenclator. This cipher uses individual symbols to correspond to individual letters. To hasten the writing of a long letter, commonly used words and phrases such as how, why, and when are given their own symbol.
Mary was fairly convinced that her codes wouldn't be broken. She was very careful to regularly change them to create new alphabets. She inserted nulls, which are symbols that don't mean anything, throughout her codes to try and prevent them being broken. But she's unaware at the time that the English state, and particularly Francis Walsingham, the Secretary of State, has employed a man called Thomas Phelps, who's a brilliant cryptographer, who has what to the English is a new method of actually cracking these codes.
It's known as frequency analysis and works by studying how commonly used letters appear when enciphered. So when Babington's name is encrypted using Mary's cipher, it's easy to spot the repeated letters. Spymaster Sir Francis Walsingham and his mysterious cryptographer, Thomas Phelps, whose portrait doesn't exist, immediately begin cracking all of Mary's codes. They're looking for a single piece of treasonous evidence to prove Mary is plotting with the Catholics to overthrow Queen Elizabeth.
Mary, Queen of Scots, receives a letter from Babington in which he explains that he intends to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I. Her secretaries warn her not to reply to it because she might incriminate herself if the letter's ever intercepted. But she does anyway, and she suggests ways in which she might be broken out of her prison and what would then happen to make her Queen of England.
Mary's reply to Babington's assassination letter is immediately intercepted by Thomas Phelps before it can be smuggled out of the prison.
He decodes it and realizes that in this letter he has exactly the evidence of treason that they need to finally execute Mary. And he does two extraordinary things. He writes a postscript on the letter. He forges some extra lines on the bottom of the letter, pretending that Mary is asking for the names of the people who are actually going to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I. He then folds the letter up And on the outside, he draws a gallows because he knows that this is the letter that will finally incriminate her and bring her to her death.
Queen Elizabeth can't ignore her cousin's Catholic plotting. Mary, Queen of Scots, is beheaded at Fotheringhay Castle in February 1587 in front of 300 witnesses.